Hey everyone, Matthew here from Red Flyer Coding, and today I'm going to be showing you guys episode number 2 of our Sudoku game tutorial using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In the last episode we made all of this HTML code over here and created the entire structure for our game, and in today's tutorial we're going to be covering the CSS side of our game, and then in the next probably 2, maybe 3 tutorials we'll be doing all of the JavaScript coding. But before we get into any coding, I do want to remind you guys what the end result is going to look like. Here we have the end result. I'm going to create a new game. As you guys can see, it loads in the board, and you can place, oh wow, I was just guessing that happened to be correct. And if you place an incorrect one, it doesn't work just like that. You can also select this first and then select the number if you'd like. You can change to dark mode just like that. And here's what we have after the last tutorial. I definitely recommend you guys check out the other tutorial. The playlist will be in the description down below. Otherwise, you're not going to get much from this video if you didn't watch the last one. But anyways, this is what we have so far, and we're going to turn it a little bit closer into this. The JavaScript's going to do a lot of the work, but it's going to get a little closer with this tutorial. So let's get right into the code. So here I am again using Visual Studio Code. You can use any code editor that you'd like, including Notepad. I'm using VS Code just because I like the dark theme and I like the layout, and I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. So this is what I have, but either way you're going to want to navigate to your project folder, and if you haven't already, create a new file called styles.css. This is the one that we created in the previous video, but in case you haven't made one yet, and I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit like that. Yeah, that should be better so you guys can actually read. Let's do one more. That might be a bit much. We'll zoom in like that. Hopefully you guys can see what's going on. If you're on mobile, maybe pause it, zoom in a bit, or watch on a computer because it'll be a lot easier. But anyways, we're going to get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to have kind of just something that's going to help us out throughout all of our code. Is we're going to add some code to the .hidden class. So .hidden right there. The period signifies that it's a class, so anything with the hidden class, and we're going to say display none. So what this is going to do, not display, display none. What this is going to do is anything with the hidden class will not display anything, so it will actually be hidden now. You guys might remember from the previous tutorial, down here in the number container, we added class equals hidden, but that didn't actually do anything yet because we didn't add any code to the hidden class. But now we've told our, with our CSS code, we've told our program that if anything has the .hidden class, we're going to do display none. So I have not refreshed the page yet. If we go back here, this is our number container right here. We have 1 through 9. If we go back to our code, save, and then refresh the page, you can see that it's now hidden. That's how the hidden class works. So we're going to use that in a few other places in our JavaScript, but right now that's the only place it's going to be used. But I always put that at the top of the file just because it's kind of a helper that's used throughout. The next thing we're going to do is body.dark. And we're going to say background color. You can make this any color that you like. For me, it's going to be 333, 333. I think that's not black, but that's a fairly dark gray. You can actually see it in the box right here. It's a dark gray. It's what I use for the dark theme, but if you wanted a purple theme or a green theme, or you could do whatever you'd like there. You could also just say green instead if you wanted to. That'll work as well, but if you want a more precise color, you can do something like that. And then color white here, this is actually going to change the text color. It's just called color. But if we save this and we go back here and refresh, we're not going to see any change because nothing actually has the dark class yet. But if we want to just test it really quick, you guys don't have to follow this along. But if we go in our body and we say class is equal to dark, save it and refresh it, it didn't totally work. It changed our text color. It did not change our background color. Oh, and I just made a typo right here. I should have noticed it because of the yellow, but background color had 2 ends in it. There we go, background color. I'm gonna go back here, refresh the page. So this is our dark theme, but we're not gonna have that in the HTML code, so I'm gonna go back and remove this from right here because we're gonna handle that with our JavaScript. So I'm gonna remove that, save it. Let's go back and refresh it, just make sure everything looks good. Yep. Looks pretty good, and I'm going to stop alt-tabbing so much because I know it's going to give you guys a headache, but I just wanted to show you that really quick. Next, we're going to go on to header, and we're going to add a few things to our header. The first thing is text align center. Did I forget a space? I don't think that matters. It might matter, I'm not totally certain. Padding, bottom, 10 pixels. border bottom 1 pixel solid red. Again, you could change these colors or sizes or anything that you'd like. This is just what I chose. This is what we're going for to match our solution code that you saw earlier. Also, I'm not going to get into padding and margin and all that stuff in this video because it is fairly complicated. Definitely look up a different video if you want to learn how that works. But it's just going to make some space between our elements here. So if we save this and we flip back to our browser right here and we refresh, our header is now centered and we have that red line right here. But this is still a little odd. This isn't exactly what we wanted. And if you guys remember, I'm going to go back to our code. When we set up all of those options, we used a lot of divs, and we did that for a reason. It's actually going to help us space everything out, and you'll see that in a moment, because we have the stats div, the game div, the diff div, the time div, the theme div. There was a reason for all of that. So you guys will see that in just a second. After the header, we're going to modify all of our H1 elements, and we're just going to change the font size to make it a little bit bigger, 45 point, not with an X, 45 point. Just like that, looks good. And now in hashtag setup game, hashtag, I probably sound like such a millennial. Old people call it pound. I'm not sure which one's the correct one in this case. But I'm going to say display flex, justify content center. So I'm going to save this and go back to our browser. And as you guys can see right here, when we refresh the page, we're getting there. We're a little closer, but we're not exactly there yet. Everything's way too close together and kind of scrunched up. This button isn't exactly right, so we have to add a little bit more code to fix everything in our header up there. I'm going to scroll down on my page right here. Alright guys, well I just finished the video, but I did notice one thing that I missed when I got to the end, and that's that these parameters up here are kind of squished together. So I'm going to jam this in the correct place in the video so you guys don't have to watch till the end and then fix the error. Sorry about the hard cut, but anyways, you guys can see in our solution code here that these are spaced out evenly. But here they're really jammed together, so we need to add one more modifier to each of the individual divs that hold the theme parameters, the time parameters, and the difficulty parameters. So if we go back to our code here, and we go into CSS, after the setup game that I did add, we actually have to modify the children of setup game. So we're going to say setup game like this, and then a caret and a star. That's going to say all of the children of setup game. And we're going to start with margin bottom 10 pixels. That's going to give some space between these parameters and the button down below. And then padding left 50 pixels. Padding right 50 pixels. Display flex. Align items center. Oh, I spelled a line wrong. Otherwise, that looks good. So if we go back here and refresh, now everything is spaced out evenly. Sorry about the error. The next thing we're going to add is button justify self center. And then we're going to add paragraph timer and paragraph lives. So this is going to affect, they're not showing because we don't have anything on them. Remember this from the previous tutorial, but it's going to affect these two items, the ones that show the timers and lives right here. Scroll back down here. Paragraph timer and paragraph lives, we're going to change the font size to 25 because it's just a normal paragraph element, so it's going to have a really small font size by default. We're going to make the font weight bold, just so it stands out a little bit more. And text align center, just like that. And then we're going to go into hashtag game, anything with the game ID, display flex, justify content center. This isn't going to make any changes to our code or to our project yet because we haven't populated the game because that'll all be done. Oh, I guess we do have number containers within game. So number container will be centered, but everything else is going to be added with our JavaScript. And number container is hidden right now, so actually it won't make any change in our game yet. But we'll see that in the next episode once we start populating things with JavaScript. And we're also going to modify the number container. We're actually going to modify each of the tiles within the number container, because if you remember when we set this up, there's a paragraph element for each number right down there. So we're going to say number container, and I used a star in my solution code to say all of the number containers children, but you could also say P. Either one would work. This is just all the paragraph elements inside of it, but it doesn't have any children, so it'll work the same either way. And we have a lot of things we're going to say here. The first one is going to be border 1 pixel solid black. So this is going to outline each of those boxes with a 1 pixel solid black border, so they actually look like tiles and not just floating text. Next thing we're going to do is border radius 20%. Where's the percent sign? There. Oh, geez. It's embarrassing. There it is. Width is going to be 60, not 50, 60 pixels. Height is also going to be 60 pixels. I need to scroll down on my document here. We still have a ton of things to add to this, to add these paragraph elements. Let's see. Width, height, font size is going to be 40 because we want it to be fairly large, so we can actually read it, because again, paragraph elements have a really small font size by default, and we only have one number in each tile, so we can use a fairly large font size. Margin left is going to be 50 pixels. This is so it's not touching our board. We want a little bit of space there so we can actually see what's going on. Margin top 5 pixels and margin bottom 5 pixels. This is going to make a total of 10 pixels in between each one, just so they're spaced out and they're not too scrunched together. And finally, text align center. Just like that. Now we're going to modify the board. This is one that's completely not populated until we actually do anything with JavaScript. So again, you're not going to see it yet, but you got to just trust me right now. Many of the same attributes, but some of them are different. Padding top 10 pixels, margin top 10 pixels, display flex. I'm not sure if these are actually called attributes. I can't remember the official name. I'm really bad at remembering the official names for things. Most of what I learned is self-taught. I've done a few classes on computer science over my career, but a lot of it's self-taught, so I don't learn a lot of the official names for things. So excuse me for that. Justify content center, flex wrap. I'm not gonna get into like margin padding, flex, all that stuff, because it is pretty complicated, but if you look up some videos you can understand it. But this is just going to format all of our boxes correctly in the 9x9 grid. We're going to say align content flex start, and then width 600 pixels and height 600 pixels. So this means not each individual tile, but the entire board is going to be 600 by 600. The board that's going to make up all of our individual tiles. So after that, I need to scroll down a little bit more. Now we're going to do everything with the tile class, and this is an ID, not a class, just because that's the way I chose to do it when I coded this. Maybe when we get into JavaScript, there'll be a more more logical reason. But we're going to add the tile class to all of the 81 individual tiles inside the board. They're going to be, I believe, paragraph elements, but they might be divs. We'll see that once we get into our JavaScript. But anything with the .tile class is going to have something similar to the number container paragraphs. Move my mouse there. It's going to be border 1 pixel solid black, width 60 pixels, height 60 pixels, text align center, margin, 0 pixels, because these ones we don't want any space between them, because the board would look really weird if there was like a 1 pixel margin between each individual tile. This also means that the borders are actually going to overlap. So if there's a 1 pixel border on the right side of this one and the left side of this one, or I guess this is inverted, it's just going to make a 1 pixel border in total. They're not going to like combine or anything like that. So if you're trying to like hard code the size of the board, make sure you consider that when you're summing all of those. Beneath the margin we have vertical align middle, that puts the text in the middle of the tile, I believe, and font size 40 point. Again, we want a big font because it's only one number in each tile, so it's okay to have a pretty big one, and by default the paragraph elements have pretty small text. Okay, so now we're going to do p.selected background color light blue, and what this will do is after we select a tile, or actually I think it works for both. I think it works for the tiles on the board or the number container. It's going to give it that blue highlight so we can tell which ones are selected. As you guys saw in the demo at the beginning, p.incorrect color.red, so it's going to change the text to red. As you saw in the beginning, if we click the wrong tile, it's going to flash it red for 3 seconds, and then it's going to go back to normal. We're going to handle that with JavaScript, but these are classes because we have to be adding and removing them. So if we select one tile, we add the p.selected class, p being paragraph element, so just the selected class. And then once something else becomes selected and that one is no longer selected, we're going to remove the selected class, which is why these are classes and not IDs. Let me scroll down a little bit more. We're actually almost to the end. So one other thing is .right border. This one is going to be a little weird to explain, but what I ended up doing when I made the game is I added a thicker border around the grids. So for the first three by three box, and then there's like, you guys know, it's like a tic-tac-toe board. It kind of breaks up, if you understand how Sudoku works, it breaks it up into 9 3x3 boxes that all make up the larger 9x9 box. And those individual 3x3 boxes like are part of the game. You have to kind of pay attention to each individual grid. So I made those thicker lines just to make it a little simpler for the player to see what's going on. So what I ended up doing, the best solution that I found, is the third tile in every column, or in every row, and the fourth, fifth, and the sixth column in every row, their right border is going to be thicker. And then the third row in every column is going to have a bottom border that's a little thicker. And the sixth row in every column is also going to have a bottom border that's a little bit thicker. And you'll see that in the next video in the JavaScript. I know it's a little confusing right now, but all you need to know is that the paragraph elements with the thicker borders are going to be the ones with the .right border class. So what we're going to say is border right going to be 4 pixels of solid black instead of 1. And then you guessed it, the bottom border, bottom border, that looks right, is going to have border bottom of 4 pixels, solid black. Just like that. And finally, we're going to modify our footer just to center it and give it a little background color. So we're going to say background color, light gray. Again, you can make that whatever you want. And text align center. So that's actually going to be it for our CSS. So let's go back to our code right here, and we're going to see this is going to get centered. These should be spaced out a little bit more. Those are actually not spaced out more. Interesting. Give me 1 second to check this. Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed this video. This one was definitely a lot shorter, but the other two are probably going to be a lot longer for the JavaScript. Definitely click the link in the description down below for the playlist so you can see the next episode. I hope to put it out in about a week or so. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Like the video if you enjoyed. Comment what you want to see in future videos. And thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.